Geoholic.
Good morning, Geoholics.
We are here.
Day one of GeoWeek 2024.
Well,
One and a
count
half.
Yesterday, yes.
Yeah.
But the first big day of GeoWeek 2024.
One of us was here on time. You know what I was thinking?
I thought that was me. I thought that was me. I was on time.
This morning?
Yeah, I got here before this thing started.
Well, here's what I was thinking. One of these conferences, you're going to get in a day early and set all the shit up and freaking schlep it around. And I'm just going to show up and be the fucking rock star.
Hey, I brought hats.
Huh? You did bring hats. You did bring hats. Yeah.
Well, let's just be honest with ourselves. You're probably the best for that role.
Maybe.
One of these days, I'll be the guy that takes the gear.
Yeah.
But besides that, I'm excited to be here.
Oh man,
should be a great week.
Great conference. One of my favorite ones of the year, definitely. Super excited to be here, and we have a couple guests this morning right out of the gate. This is
that's
exciting.
right. Let's get it going.
We've got Ty and Adam with us, and let's have these guys do some quick, brief self-introduction. So, Adam, why don't you go first? Just name who you're with and kind of what you do.
All right. Name's Adam Driggers. I'm a professional land surveyor in 5 states in the Southeast. I'm director of surveying and scanning services for Hargrove Engineers and Constructors based out of Mobile, Alabama.
Right on.
We're heavy industry. Surveying and scanning is primarily our main service.
And key thing to note there, he is a professional land surveyor. Okay?
I'm guessing this is going to come up later.
Keep that in mind. Ty.
Yeah, my name's Ty McBurnett, PLS as well. Just got licensed in Alabama, I guess, October of last year.
Congrats.
2022. So
Cool.
I guess I'm going on my first year. Work with Adam. I lead our team out of Mobile. Got a crew or two that works under me. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing.
Love it.
Nice.
And great accents, these guys.
You do realize that this is how people
This is
talk.
This is like your accent starts to come out now because you got a couple.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little early for bourbon, but once that comes out and talking to guys like this, then my eyes start getting longer.
Yeah. So tell us about Hargrove.
So we're a multidisciplinary engineering firm.
Okay.
Civil, structural, piping, mechanical, E&I, controls and automations, process, the whole 9 yards, full suite of engineering disciplines. Like I said before, heavy industry, do a lot of refining work, a lot of chemical plants, pulp paper facilities, power generation, manufacturing facilities. It's primarily in those heavy industrial sectors.
Got it.
So our group is just a division within the company, surveying and scanning, and we've got teams across the Southeast and on the West Coast in California to support 3D data capture, drones, toll stations, GPS, traditional scanners. We got Naviz, pretty full toolbox worth of tools.
Yeah, I'd say. Talk about some cool projects you're working on, Ty.
Well, I mean, we can't really get into the details of where we're working and what we're doing, but, most of our stuff is in the oil and gas sector. We do a lot of work in the oil refineries. That's really what we're working on right now. The bulk of our work has really been taken up by doing dimensional checks on prefabricated equipment. We went in, did the scan at the beginning. They designed all the equipment, and now we're on the back end of it checking to make sure that it was built the way they were designed it.
Got it.
Because they want to just drop that in, bolt it together, and go.
That's right. Time is money.
Yeah.
Time is money, and we're doing whatever we can to mitigate any uh-ohs or hiccups, that could come about when the construction project actually starts.
Sure.
So was that your idea or your client's idea?
We've been doing it for a little while. Hired some guys that have been in the industry for going on 20 years now. Came to Hargrove about 4 years ago. So we've been offering that as a service for right at 4 years.
Okay.
And the client that we are doing this for, they have used those services with that team in the past and see the financial benefit of it.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's an insurance policy to make sure turnaround doesn't get extended, construction delays don't happen, and stuff bolts up, fits like it's designed to fit.
Right.
So this is high accuracy stuff.
Very much so.
Talk about the importance of having good control when it comes to this type of scanning.
Adam?
Sure, I'll take this one. So kind of make it simple from a high level. Your control is your check. You've got the tool on the scanning side that captures the data. You move it around to various locations, and you can use the software, cloud to cloud. It fit one scan setup to the next, one to two, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, so on and so forth. But what gets lost on some in the industry is that dimensional drift. There's some information out there that can probably paint a better picture visually than I'm trying to explain here on the podcast. But your survey control is your quality check. You've got another independent set of data ran with a survey total station, close the loop, know how good your raw misclosure is from the field. Take that information, run it through least squares, massage all of your errors, and get a good tight network of control. And that's your basis to where we drop the scans in, register the scans to that control. You can, do from, usually 1/4 inch is what we accept on a target, 5-6 millimeters and below, we're good. We're seeing overall accuracies based on that survey control method, sub-millimeter,
Yeah. And talk about, you guys have a lot of really cool hardware that you use, a lot of, tools in the toolbox, as they say. Talk about the importance of knowing the limitations of each of those tools.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about having the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of tools to do this, that, and the other, but when it comes down to it, our main cash cows is the laser scanner and total station, and they complement each other so well. The 5016, we're running ZNF 5016s, Sokia total stations, and we know that there's certain things you can and can't do with that scanner. We try to push it to the limit, and we really do. I mean, we'll take that thing hundreds of feet up in the air on platforms that are doing like this,
Wow.
But we're not going to try to get something hundreds of feet away. The farther you go away, the less points you're going to get on something. So we really try to group our scans and do a lot of scans to collect, good information on what we're looking at.
Yeah.
But the tool needs to fit the purpose of what you're trying to use the data for.
Right.
Some projects are going to need that 1/16 of an inch where our dimensional control comes into play, or our traditional scanning. Some don't. If we've got a greenfield civil project where it's in an open pasture, we can take a GPS or fly it with a drone, and if you're a 1/10 GPS accuracy, you're good. It's dirt work.
Yeah.
So it's really about knowing the tool, the accuracy limitations for that tool, and what the end user needs that data to be.
Got it. Yeah. Jeff,
No, go ahead.
How do you manage the data? Is that a problem? I mean, these files that you guys have are so freaking huge.
Yes.
That's an uphill battle.
Talk about it a little bit.
Well, as far as transfers, I mean, we've got terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of servers in every single one of our offices just to host this data.
Yeah.
I definitely think at some point in time we'll start looking towards that cloud structure, that allows us to push the data up there, and then whomever wants to, they can pull it down.
Yep.
But we're still probably like most other scan firms. If we want to transfer data fast, that's overnight and in a FedEx box.
Yeah.
Our servers are real siloed. Currently, depending on, we've got 17 offices across the country.
Okay.
And a lot of our design teams are split up, and you may have some piping designers in Texas and some E&I designers in Mobile,
Right.
and some process people in Atlanta, all working on the same project. And they all need access to the same data. So sometimes, right now we're having to make copies and put it in, it's redundant. It's duplicated in different locations. And so, it's always been, a challenge. There are solutions we've been looking at to try, like Ty said, to ultimately put it on a cloud where anybody, no matter where they're working from, can pull it down and use it.
You might be able to find some of those ideas at this place.
Yeah,
this
we've
week.
been walking around.
I don't know.
Trying to find a couple. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, there's a couple different people that we've talked to. Through the last few years, that exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, we've got a tool that we use, this JP Interactive Viewer. They're a web-based cloud and 3D model viewer, similar to some of the others that are here. But it's just a viewer. You can't design and to pull that point cloud into like a smart plant or E3D type platform. You still got to have that local copy,
right?
To merge with it. So
yeah. Do you think that's the biggest hurdle you see in the future? Is we talk a lot about what's advancing more, the hardware or the software, and it sounds like you can collect all the data in the world. It's going to be how you get more people to collaborate on it. Is that what your experience is, and what do you see in the next couple of years?
It's still going to be a challenge. Just within our company, we're doing bigger and bigger projects, and so your project teams get larger and they're spread out in more locations. And so that's always been a challenge. So I feel like somebody out there somewhere has got to have the solution to put it all together under one umbrella.
I can tell you're not alone.
What about virtual reality? Are you guys dabbling in that at all?
We have a little bit, more so on the 3D modeling side, not so much on the scan data point cloud.
Got it.
Had a couple of projects that we've utilized that on, and we're able to put the client was in one location and we were in one of our offices. Both were able to put on a VR headset, go into an online meeting, and walk around and see each other's avatars in the model. It was pretty slick.
That's pretty cool.
You really want to do that, right?
I want to see Ty's avatar. Oh, man. So what else? What are you excited about, Ty?
What am I excited about?
Yeah.
Right now, the drones.
Yeah.
We started up the drones, doing that in 2018. And, over time, we've seen the progression of where we started out with a drone that had an 8-minute flight time, and now we've got one that's got a 35-minute flight time.
Right.
The sensors are getting better and better and better every single year.
Yep.
And we're finally, I think we're starting to get our toes wet. We're gonna dive off into the LiDAR world. We're really seeing a need for that on a lot of our projects, and can see that it would benefit us to be able to provide that service in-house rather than having to reach out to somebody else to do it for us.
Yeah,
so
makes perfect sense.
The drones are definitely, I think they're just game changing.
Yep.
And if you're not in the drone world yet, you're behind.
You're behind.
You're behind.
Exactly. Yeah. As fast as technology is advancing, it's like you get behind so fast.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know how to keep up with it all. How about you? What are you excited about, Adam?
Like Ty said, the drones are really interesting. I'm not a UAV pilot. Ty is, so he gets to actually put the hands on the sticks in the field. But what's exciting to me is seeing the data that comes out of those sensors and how much more accurate it's getting every day.
Yeah.
And being able to take that into a project, give it to a project team, and it be accurate and useful, and from our standpoint, efficient and safe way to get the data to them. So that's what excites me.
Another thing that's really interesting to me too is all the collaboration tools that are out there now to be able to share this data and make it, easily available to anybody. Now if you've got an internet connection, you can look at scan data. On the fly. Yeah. You got a smartphone in your hand, you can look at all the scan data and show it to all your buddies. That's really neat because that's really just kind of hit the mainstream in the past year or two. Prior to that, it was toting a laptop or toting a desktop or bringing a hard drive, hoping to God that the computer you're going to plug it into can handle it.
Yeah.
So being able to view all that stuff in your hands quickly is really neat too.
That is cool.
So
pretty amazing. Well, I got everything else.
Yeah, that's really good stuff.
Yeah, great way to kick off the conference.
Appreciate you guys helping us kick us off.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, we're back.
We are back, rolling right along.
I'm telling you, it's going to be like 5 o'clock before no time.
That's how these things usually go.
Yeah.
Fast and furious.
I did have a little bit too much to drink last night.
Oh, really?
A little bit.
Okay. All right.
That's
shocking.
Yeah. I'm dragging a little bit this morning. I'm starting to find the groove though.
It's not like it was the biggest sports game of the year.
Oh, there was a game last night?
Yeah. Oh, you were just party of one?
Yeah, pretty much. Surrounded by 100 of my closest friends, I guess.
Right.
Yep. All right, we got Dennis Rose with us this morning. Dennis, welcome back to the Geoholics. Good to see you again,
welcome
man.
back.
Great to be here.
What's new with you?
Well, GeoWeek is new, obviously.
Lots to see, right?
Yeah, not used to being this cold, really.
Right.
Oh, man. I got off the plane.
I kind of like it.
I know you do.
It's like I just like that cold, fresh air.
Yeah. The best part is when you are leaving it and you know you're going to be warm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's true. So what's new at the company?
Yeah, so, we have quite a few projects going. I think LiDAR really is the big thing,
First, let's tell the folks who you're with.
I'm with GIS Surveyors, and we've actually recently acquired another company.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
We can talk a little bit about that. So we always had a sister company that was a utility services company. They do things like third-party logistics, safety, and security. And so their name was Icon Utility Services, and they had some common ownership with our company, so it was kind of like not a hostile takeover.
Okay, all right.
Friendly acquisition, and our parent company now is called Limitless Solutions Group. So I'm now the president of the Geospatial side, GIS Surveyors, and then
nice.
I have a counterpart on the Icon Utility Services.
Congrats.
So yeah, thanks.
Super cool.
I guess that is new. Maybe I buried the lead a little bit, but
sure.
I'm still getting used to it. It just happened January 1st. We're moving into a new office in San Diego proper.
Nice.
It's just starting actually when I land tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So,
cool.
I
Moving
land,
offices is the best.
Yeah, coming right in from out of town and hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So this week will be pretty gnarly.
That's exciting. So how many people are in the firm now?
So we're with both companies. It's about 120 now.
Good size.
Nice.
So,
That's a good mid-size.
A growing concern, right?
Yeah.
And kind of the thing, that we're looking to tie the companies together. It's really about utilities. I think that's what we talked about a little bit last time about the wildfire mitigation and stuff. That's really our bailiwick, and they actually have a PG&E contract with vegetation management inspectors, arborists and stuff. So that's where it all fits together, right? It's kind of weird that a geospatial firm has a logistics firm, but it's tied together by what we do for the utilities.
Got it.
When it comes to contracting with somebody like that, it doesn't. You can be anything, and then tie it all together. You can really leverage your services.
Yeah. It seems like everybody we talk to these days, the conversation always ends up at utilities. Like that is a big thing, no doubt.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially going to a place like when we went to RE Plus last year, and all the cool technology is one thing, but you got to get it somewhere, and that's where all the utility transmission is huge right now, and that's what less people outside of this room talk about.
The grid resiliency, right? I mean, what California is getting ready to do with all the electric car mandates that they're going to have, the grid can't support it, and that's the dirty little secret, and they ain't talking about completely when it comes to legislation. Is that the structure has to be there. So we see a big future there. We see a lot, and there are big projects there. So none of those like one-day projects. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sure.
We like the year-long projects, the big many miles. And I think once you get suited for that, the small stuff's harder. Actually,
I totally agree.
Right?
Yep.
Because you have a group that's used to something. It's like getting a Ferrari out to go just a block, right? That thing you really can't even.
I love that analogy.
Right?
That is great.
Do you even put your foot on the gas?
Right.
It just has to kind of coast there. Just put it in gear, and it's never efficient. It feels like it's harder to make that profit on those small jobs, and it's almost counterintuitive in a way, but it
100%.
is that way.
So do you guys even do you still do Alta surveys and stuff like that, or are you just solely
I try
focused?
not to. I have great network of other survey friends that do that stuff, and I try to refer them to those guys, and I think people that call us are appreciative of that I don't just say no. I do try to help them out.
Sure.
I usually, the surveyor in me can't resist looking at the property and going, ooh, that is gonna,
And every once in a while, it looks like it's kind of fun. I know you got to dive
kind of want to fix this, but I know I can't make any money at
Right?
it, so I got to move on. And when you have this big nut you got to cover every month. These little jobs just take so much more overhead to kind of to take you out of your groove where you really are making your money. That's rough. So, But yeah, I think what we see is LiDAR. If I like survey, I will always be the thing I love, but where the future is LiDAR. The 100%. LiDAR that's where we see the biggest growth, both nationally, internationally, too. So. How can you get stuff done faster? That's what we've been charged with some of the utilities, because they need LiDAR turned around. They'd love to have many miles turned around in 72 hours, captured and turned around in 72 hours, because they want to get ahead of red flag warnings, right?
Oh, sure.
In California, you get a red flag warning, maybe 72 hours notice. Not that they're going to be able to cut trees in that time, but they would love to know if we got a issue, let's shut that power off. But if we don't have an issue, we're leaving the power on. Because that's obviously something they don't take lightly. So they're looking at how can we get a process down to speed that up, the processing, the collection and processing, having the sensor there on a bird that can go quick.
So when it comes to scanning, are there any written standards for it, accuracy standards?
Yeah, so just about every utility has their standards, and actually we help SCE write their specs. Kind of help them, because they needed experts to help them even understand. I mean, it's a lot of technical jargon that if you don't deal with it, it's like nothing you've seen before. So we've helped them write those standards, and then there's a QA QC process to just ensure that the standards are met. Which is kind of a whole project in of itself too.
Good for you to get involved at that level. That's awesome. So in those same standards, does it say that it has to be done under the guidance of a professional land surveyor?
Yes,
it does.
Yep, and especially the engineering spec. Now, veg management, sometimes they are using that for other than engineering purposes. So, there's usually a little lighter spec for just capturing trees on an alignment that you fly often. Whereas when they know they're going to use it for engineering spec, we're usually the guys out setting targets on the ground and setting up a network that's survey grade for the backbone. Really.
Yeah. And how much of your time is spent educating your clients?
That's pretty much all.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, pretty much all the time. I mean,
but you love that part, right?
I guess I do enjoy, because I'm so interested in it. I like talking about it, and I find that when I talk about it, people have questions that I don't think about. I take things for granted because I know how it works. And when I hear people's questions, I'm like, hey, that is an interesting thought. I haven't thought about that, And so it makes you smarter to talk about it. I think you get to know your subject matter more. So I'd say at least half the day I'm on the phone or in a meeting talking to people, explaining our product, explaining our procedure.
Well, I'm sure that way you end up finding more in different use cases, and you learn more about, I didn't even think that we could use it for that. And I guess the more you talk to your client, the better you are.
Exactly. I mean, that's just it. Communication. I think, COVID taught us how separation breeds this inability to communicate. And I'm starting to see now, it's like, why aren't you asking questions? It's like, you can talk to people. People won't just shut the door in your face or hang up on you, So, I'm kind of an open book like that. I have my clients reach out to me direct, and I probably feel like, sometimes I feel like they want to hang up. Like, I keep going, and they're like, okay, I got to go now, You definitely told me more than I ever cared to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Hey, that's adding value, though.
You get that a lot, don't you, Kent?
What?
The glazed over eyes.
The glazed over, like you could have stopped 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I definitely can't go home and talk to my wife about it. She's
no. It's just a Charlie Brown teacher talk at this point, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. What else?
Yeah, what else are you excited about? So you merged with this. They handle mostly logistics, more boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Can you get a couple of those guys to put a control point in for you and kind of leverage, some efficiency there?
It's
or
interesting
where do you see that
when
going?
you think about the fact that my safety guys make the same as party chiefs. It's hard to believe, right?
Actually,
interesting.
If you think about it, that's exactly where you should be. If that's really your priority,
so
then
they can't be chainmen. Then I can't make them a chainman. So it kind of gets weird that you can't kind of multitask some of these guys if you're going to make your same profits. It's like that's the most expensive chainman I've ever had,
Sure.
Yep.
And he's not knowledgeable enough to be the party chief, even though that's the rate at which you need to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it kind of makes it where people got to kind of be in their spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the cost model breaks down, right? And I think as you're trying to do the right thing for geospatial, you got to also do the right thing for business, or you'll be out of business. Right?
Well
Well
put.
said.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people have that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, we love to do what we do, but
Oh, sure.
there's this little greedy man called money that's got to like come along and take his share. So you have to pay the piper, and that's where we got to make money.
Well, it has to make sense, and if it doesn't, then it's not a business, and if it's not a business, then it doesn't exist. So,
Yeah. And surveyors, as we know, historically are not the best business people.
Right. No, I mean, that's just it. We learned we're blue collar, right? It's a blue collar profession, and you come up learning how to work hard, but you didn't pay that close in business classes. So,
and not combine analogies here, but the worst business people, but if they had a Ferrari in the garage, they would take it 1 mile down the street and back because that's the coolest, fanciest way to get there. Even though they probably should just hop in the Civic because it's already ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I love the Ferrari analogy. I'm going to use that one. That's good.
Right. Yes. What else are you excited about?
Oh, well, we got another big conference coming up in Anaheim, IEEE, and that's that's a big power conference. It's every other year, and this year it's in Anaheim, sponsored by one of our best clients, SoCal Edison. So we're going to have a big party there, a booth twice this size. I think we're putting our survey truck in there, bringing it in, and lighting it up.
Cool.
Draw attention to us.
Awesome.
And it's kind of our coming out party of the merger. We're going to have both entities represented there, so I think that's the next one we're really looking forward to. It's
I don't know, Ken. I think I heard an invite in there.
I think I did.
Did you hear an invite in there?
Indirectly, but I heard it.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Is it in San Diego?
That's Anaheim,
Anaheim?
by
Close enough.
Disneyland.
That's close.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
We'll have to talk about
The
that.
ever-evolving Geoholics calendar.
Don't you love how we just invite ourselves
I
to
love
these
it.
things? Yeah.
we'll get you in,
Gotten
no
good at
problem. And actually our LiDAR director is on the board here. We can get people in free here too. That's what he walks around like he's the king here. His name's Dan Bellissimo. You might see him, but yeah, he's we have fun at these conferences, and Roy's looking forward to the next one and trying to get reasons to be excited about what we do. And IEEE is going to have that utility focus, so we're going to try to see if we'll probably have more clients there, if you know what I mean. Here, I feel like we have more partners and vendors.
Sure.
Whereas there we will be in fine project mode.
Well, if you do it right, you find something really cool and fancy here that you can take there to show off to your clients, and then you're rocking and rolling, right?
No, I don't feel like we have near cool enough toys walking around here when I walk around here.
There's some cool stuff to look at.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I hope
For
you guys
sure.
have a good rest of your conference.
Yeah, you as well.
Enjoy it. It's great to see you as always.
Hey, thanks for letting me crash the party here.
Thanks for your time.
Anytime.
What episode is this going to be? Episode 400?
407, yeah.
Depends when
407.
Sean gets it out.
I take my sweet ass time, so yeah.
That's great, guys. Appreciate
But anyway,
having
Dennis,
me.
appreciate it a
Thanks
lot.
for your time.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. See you guys.
All right, we're back.
We are back.
Episode 204.
204.1 through 7.
Oh, man, I'm excited to have this conversation. We got Justin with us this morning. Justin, real quick, just a brief introduction, name, who you're with, and kind of what you do.
Sure. So my background, my name is Justin Brooks, and I'm with Trimble. But my background is actually in mechanical engineering. So I do not have the survey background. And please, forgive me if I misspeak on anything. I still have a lot to learn on that front.
I'm a mechanical engineer turned into a civil engineer.
Excellent.
And have no survey background.
Yeah, so I can relate there.
I'm right there with you.
But I did start my career at Regal USA right out of school, which is the manufacturer for the lasers we use in the MX-9, and they're well regarded as some of the best LiDAR instruments in the industry.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of experience with them, doing anything from integrations, sales, support, training, all the above.
Yeah.
And back in those days, we didn't have these turnkey systems. We had to piece all these different sensors together.
Yeah.
So that was interesting and definitely leveraged my engineering background.
Right.
And then from there, I spent some time at ESP doing actually projects on the ground, for big utility companies and DOTs. And I'd say that that's where I actually learned, the bread and butter of the business and how these kind of systems operate. And there's a big difference between demoing these things and actually using them for production, right? So I think that's where I truly learned a lot more. And then now at Trimble, I help John Ambry and his team on increasing the utilization of these systems across the board, whether it's through the Trimble dealer network or through customers themselves.
Okay. Very cool. And you guys made an announcement today, right?
Yep.
New piece of hardware?
Yep. So we just released the new Trimble MX90. Okay. It's basically the update of our MX9.
Got it.
And that includes Regal Vux 1 HA lasers that do about 1.8 million points per second each.
Wow.
So we're pushing 3.6 million points per second total. We have a newer Aplanix IMU. It's a AP Plus board on the new Aplanix IMUs. So slightly improved in performance, but mostly just a smaller form factor, more energy efficient, stuff like that. And the big improvement is going to be the Ladybug 6 camera up top, the spherical imagery.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We know a little bit about the Ladybug.
We do know a little bit about that.
Good mutual friend Mike Lee was just on last week telling us all about it.
Yeah. And he did say there were... you got to give him credit. He didn't let the cat out of the bag, but he said there were some implications, or there's going to be some new news coming out with the Ladybug. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we've adopted it now, and same with my old colleagues at Regal and stuff too. I mean, FLIR definitely has a great sensor there, and we're going to continue utilizing it for the near future. But we also have planar cameras as well, I should mention, that the MX90 has not only the spherical camera up top, but also 2 forward-facing planar cameras and even a back-down pavement cam as well.
Oh, wow.
And that feeds into some of our software tools that we have in Trimble Business Center.
Wow.
Very cool.
So what do you think the biggest difference or the biggest advantage going from the MX90 from the MX9? What's the biggest step forward?
So definitely the improvement in resolution of the imagery.
Sure.
And nowadays we're getting to the point where the LiDAR data is so dense. I mean, I think we're going to have, it's going to plateau at some point. We're pushing 4 million points per second. I mean, the data density is just incredible, even at highway speeds. Right, so
wow.
I think the big thing in the last few years has been resolution, and especially in the utility side of the applications. Really, a lot of these providers are looking for serial numbers on poles or the pole tags, and oftentimes that can be difficult to find with lower resolution imagery. So we're excited with the new Ladybug here and some of our planar camera options to help pick up those features a little easier now. Yeah. But that was really the main, I think, pain point of people in the past, and that's what the MX90 is trying to address.
Got it. Okay. Nice.
So you mentioned that the MX90 has Regal lasers, right? Mm-hmm. So is Regal a competitor? Are you guys a team? Like, what does that relationship look like?
It's a complicated relationship, but I'd say we're more partners.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely still compete in some regards, but we use their lasers and they use our IMUs. So, I mean, we have a very, they still use Aplanix IMUs in a lot of their turnkey systems. Yeah. So I'd say we have a really close partnership. And if anything, Trimble is one of the biggest buyers of Regal scanners, right? Because we actually keep them sitting on the shelf and use them for support and all those types of things as well. So I'd say we have a really close partnership with those guys. And it's nice for me, working with Regal previously and now at Trimble, it's nice to be able to bridge that gap actually between the organizations. So.
Yeah. So what are some, you know what I was going to ask you? This is a hot topic, data management, because you're collecting so much data. Talk about managing that.
It is tricky, and it's becoming more and more of a concern now with the MX90.
What's the times? Did you 10 times the data points between
roughly
9 and 90?
Yeah, well, 4 times the LiDAR points, and then roughly double the resolution of the imagery. So, yeah, data blows up pretty quickly there.
Yeah.
And there's a few different ways to manage it. I mean, now people, especially some of the big DOTs, Caltrans in particular, they're hosting all of their own data now in their own servers, and they kind of keep that close to their chest. Some people are uploading it to the cloud and utilizing things that way. I know even there's some extraction tools and publishing tools that work through the cloud as well. It makes it easier to ship data in between, internally or externally to your customers. So it's still definitely a challenge, but I think now that storage space is getting cheaper and cheaper, the bottleneck really is then the upload and download speeds, whether it's to the cloud or to your own personal servers, right?
So what about the processing power required? I mean, do you have to have like a supercomputer or something to manage this?
Not necessarily. We'd recommend closer to a gaming machine now than actually a dedicated processing machine of the past.
Okay.
Because we tend to emphasize higher single core speeds and a good CPU than some of the other things on like a multi-core hyper-threaded CPUs and stuff like that. We usually just like the higher single core speeds. Having a good GPU helps, and really your data drive, your working storage drive is going to be the most important, and the read-write speeds between the drive there. So solid state storage obviously is really important. M2, these new M2 connectors, things can go a little bit faster that way. But to be honest, you don't really need a supercomputer. You have a decent motherboard, good CPU, and good storage hard drive. That's really going to be the bread and butter of the operation.
Cool. Talk about maybe a couple of use cases for this new technology.
Yeah, excellent. So I'd say the big three are going to be like road work, rail work, and utility work. Okay. So the road work can kind of focus on DOTs and DOT contractors. The rail side can be anything from rail track geometry to asset management along the rail. And then, of course, utilities. We talked a little bit about fiber to home and, some of these joint use pole audits and things like that on the utility side. So those are really the big three that we're often trying to attack. And usually the multidisciplinary survey firms that do that type of work are most of our customers. Yeah. So I'd say those are the big three, but I'm always being surprised on these new applications and unique, ways people are leveraging this technology now. It's pretty exciting. Everything from video game creation to, advanced modeling of the mountains and all types of interesting stuff. Yeah. So,
are you guys doing anything like in the autonomous vehicle space?
Well, so yes and no. So those types of sensors that you would have on an autonomous vehicle, they're probably going to be smaller, cheaper, easier to produce compared to the MX-90. You're probably not going to throw one of those on every single autonomous vehicle, for example. Now, on that point, we do have customers utilizing something like an MX-90 to create a base map for autonomous vehicles. So basically, the AI engine on the vehicle will not exceed the boundary of the base map that you scan with the MX-90, right? Yep. And because that'll be accurate to within your, survey grade sub 2 centimeter accuracies, but then your real-time sensors on the cars themselves will help with obstacle avoidance and things along those lines. So just to answer your question, we're probably not going to be on every single autonomous vehicle, but I think we will leverage this kind of high fidelity LiDAR to create base maps for these vehicles.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned the speed. Are we talking, you said highway speeds too, right?
Exactly. They're designed to be able to be used at highway speeds. And again, when we're pushing 4 million points per second and these, higher resolution cameras now, you can drive really fast and still capture things like mile markers and stuff on the side of the road. But I will emphasize that it really depends on your deliverable, right? It depends on what you're trying to provide to the customer, and that'll really determine your accuracy needs, your control needs, how fast you should drive. Of course, safety is one of the biggest concerns. It's ideal if you don't need to have a trail vehicle, following you around or to shut down traffic, of course.
Right.
But that is sometimes an option that DOTs would use. But these systems were designed to kind of eliminate that need. So we can drive at highway speeds safely with traffic, capture all the information you need, and God forbid you don't have quite enough from a single pass, you could always do a secondary pass in a different lane or pass come in the other direction. That helps fill in some of the gaps of the LiDAR data and would allow you to still extract out what you need.
There, Sean.
Yeah, really.
But I would say, too, going too fast, the lower and slower you go, the better the data is going to come out, right? Because even if you are pushing 4 million points a second, if you're going fast, it's going to spread out those points a bit further. So I'd say the sweet spot is somewhere between 30 and 45.
Okay.
To where you're getting incredibly dense data to extract out anything you need. But again, depending on the situation, it's not required to do that by any means.
Yeah, but like you said, like at intersections, it almost seems like that's the sweet spot. So you get everything. You're not going to shut down traffic, and as far as safety goes, that's the safest way to do it.
Yeah. And I'd say that's one of the biggest benefits of the system, actually, that's hard to quantify, is the safety side. You're really getting guys out of harm's way. You still have boots on the ground for control and stuff like that, but really you're getting people out of harm's way most of the time, and you could do that survey from back in the office. We often come to a virtual survey.
Yeah, so maybe it's number of traffic cones not used, or you can talk about boots on the ground, but boots in traffic is much lower than it would be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even as far as control layouts and stuff, you can do that offset from traffic, so you really don't need people in harm's way anymore, which is, I think, the main benefit of this system that a lot of DOTs have started to pick up on.
So now that the MX-90 is out, Do you guys immediately start working on the next big thing?
Yes and no. We want to make sure that we capture the market that we need to with the MX90 here. Mm-hmm. So we really put a lot of resources into, hashing out all the bugs with the system, making sure that we have enough in production to actually ship out on time to customers. So I will say in the short term, our focus is mostly going to be on the MX90. But of course, Trimble's a big organization. We continuously have engineers in the background doing further development on both the hardware and software side. So to answer your question, yes, essentially to both. We're focusing on the MX90 more in particular right now. But of course, we're always developing new and exciting things too. Yeah. So stay tuned.
Justin's got some good energy, that's for sure. He's passionate about this.
Well, and he knows what he's talking about, which definitely helps.
It does. I appreciate that.
What are you excited about?
Well, really the technology itself, right? I mean, I'm just a laser nerd. At the end of the day, I get really excited about the tech and how the data is being leveraged. And now more and more, I mean, I used to come to, before it was, GeoWeek here, it used to be ILMF and SPAR, kind of split up into two different conferences. And often even back then, we'd get a lot of the basic questions like, what is LiDAR? How do we use it? What's the point? And nowadays, we're getting more engaging questions, like how do we tackle this really complicated problem? How can we use a combination of aerial photogrammetry, UAVs, and mobile LiDAR, and static scans to now capture this data? So I think now, in general, the public is getting more educated about this technology.
Totally.
The decision makers, the heads of the organizations are starting to think of how to leverage this the right way, and now they're starting to ask the right questions. So for me, I think that's the most exciting, is instead of just answering the same, cookie cutter answers over and over again about what LiDAR is and how it can be leveraged, now it's kind of more complicated, tricky questions on how to attack certain problem sets, which of course as an engineer is where I get excited.
Well, engineers.
It's the use cases and how those evolve and adapt, and so you don't even know what's coming down yet of all the I shouldn't say problems, but there's going to be a problem that you get to solve that actually opens up another door.
Exactly,
and that's the exciting part, I'm sure.
Yeah, and these things are just getting easier to use too. I mean, even when I first started in the industry back at Regal, and I was doing these integrations, taking all these sensors independently and trying to make them work. That was kind of frustrating and complicated at times, and although we always got it to work and it always turned out to be a good project, now these turnkey systems just make it so much easier, make my life a breeze. Now there's still support and things that go on with that, and I think Trimble has a great support network, and of course our dealer network as well that also helps in that regard. So we have multi-levels of support, I think, on the Trimble side that really help make my life easier.
Sure.
But just even with the 90, for example, and these new software tools, they're getting so easy to use, and even from my perspective to train people on. I mean, it would used to take me a week or more to get people up to speed on a new system. Now it's usually a day or two. I can get kind of through the whole process, and then we just start repetition, just doing a few projects together.
Yeah.
So just the ease of use, cost is coming down.
Sure.
Applications are expanding. It's a good time to be in the industry, I guess.
Well said.
Here.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, that was great.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, Justin.
Yeah,
that was great.
Lot, Justin.
Thank
that was
you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wake up in the wave of loneliness, step through the wreckage of what's left of it.
This is going way too well, Sean.
I mean, surprisingly well.
What?
For as how unorganized we are, somehow it's
all
been pulled
seems to
together,
come together.
right?
And we are on YouTube Live, which is exciting.
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool.
Whether the Wi-Fi here is a little shaky, so either you're listening or you're not. Either way, we'll get it out there.
Either way, we're glad you're here.
Exactly.
Speaking of glad you're here, we have Mario with us. Mario, real quick, just self-introduction, name, who you're with, and kind of what you do.
Perfect. My name is Mario. I'm with the City of Virginia Beach. I am a survey technician. So for the most part, I work in the office doing a lot of CAD work. I do have the pleasure of every so often getting outside and doing some of our hydro surveys and some of our LiDAR scanning as well.
Oh, so how did you get into surveying?
Yeah.
So I think like a lot of other surveyors, I kind of fell into it.
You didn't grow up in middle school dreaming to be a surveyor?
Not exactly, but it's definitely interesting. So I'm a product of the military. I was 11 years in the Navy as a geospatial intelligence analyst. So I had a little bit of GIS background, geospatial background, and when I started to have a family, got married, and wanted to settle down a little bit. I decided it was time to move on, and I enjoyed location data. I knew that the city was hiring surveyors, and I know that they do a lot of data collection and processing, so it seemed like an interesting fit. Especially, I had a little bit of UAS experience, so they're looking to start their UAS program next year, so it's pretty exciting.
Nice. Do you have your Part 107?
I do, yes.
Good for you.
I appreciate it.
Good for you. You know, I was just thinking, Sean, I cannot wait when we have a guest on that says, and then we ask him, how did you get into surveying? And I can't wait for them to say, in 5th grade, I got to get kids into survey coloring book, and I was hooked ever since.
I mean, there is going to be a person
it's gonna happen.
And in our lifetime that says, you know what, Trent Keenan came to my school, and he told me all the cool things about surveying, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, I visited their booth earlier. They gave me the little German Shepherd dog.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I'll give it to my son. He's 3, so he'll enjoy it.
And there you go. So I got to ask about the transition from working in the Navy and now in the private sector. Like, talk a little bit about how that's been in similar fields.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's definitely a different feel as far as culture goes. In the military, it's a pretty intense as far as time and everything. Whereas in surveying, I work for the city, so I know in private sector surveying, it's a lot of time is money. And so that's not necessarily the case for me. So I've been very fortunate that I work directly for the city surveyor, and he's kind of taken me under his wing, has allowed me to learn directly from him, be it anything, civil 3D or even field work. I recently started at the University of Florida online to complete my bachelor's, and I also just started the geomatics certificate with them. And so you have to have a licensed surveyor as a mentor. And so he took that on. He was very open to it, and all the other field staff and the office techs, they've been willing to help me and train me as well. So I've been super fortunate the way I fell into it.
You're going to be able to write your ticket. You do realize that, right? Right. You're going to be like the most sought after surveyor in the country at some point. Is that your goal? That's your objective, to become a licensed surveyor, I'm assuming?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, the immediate goal, I would say, is to probably get CST certified at least level 1 right now. And then, possibly go up 2, 3, and then eventually get licensed.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like the guy that all the managers around here are like, man, I want a guy that wants to do that and has that background. Like,
Exactly. Are you involved with, and I don't know if it's a strong one or not, the Young Surveyors Network in Florida?
So I'm not. I know of them. I keep in contact with a lot of the ASPRS members down there. So I have some fellow students that I've had classes with, be it GIS or geography, and they and I actually met a couple UF students last night at RCN's Super Bowl party.
Nice.
So we hung out for a little bit. So it has been fun to kind of network with them and see where they're going after they graduate and whatnot. But yeah.
If you saw me at that party and I was shoveling Doritos into my mouth, it was probably not a good look.
Probably weren't the only one.
So, Mario, you mentioned this is your first time here?
Yes, sir, yeah.
So, what do you think so far? What are you hoping to get out of this little shindig?
So, I kind of feel like a kid in the candy shop, Yesterday I went and I talked to Nick at his booth, and I actually didn't realize that he did his undergrad at UF as well. So we started chatting for a bit, and he was like, "Oh, come here! I got a bunch of cool swag for you that I'm not giving to everybody else."
Of course,
but awesome.
But yeah, I've seen there's a lot of people, and I guess I don't know if you call them geospatial evangelists or I like the term geospatial heroes. Like there's a lot of people. I just saw Rami walking around.
Yeah.
I met him yesterday. Talked to Matt Bird.
Awesome.
Talked to Elaine. So it's kind of cool to see a lot of people that you see making an impact in the survey community and kind of meet them in person.
Yep. So you're working in the public sector right now.
Correct. Yes.
Is that do you see yourself staying in the public sector, or do you think you'll venture off into the private side?
I'll never say never. So my wife is from Virginia Beach. Shout out to Rebecca.
Nice.
I met her when I was in the military in 2013, and so that's where we've settled down. And the city they've allowed me to kind of be super flexible with my schedule and with work and school and everything. So at least for the future right now, I see I probably stay over there just because I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy the work that we do as well. well. And they're on the ground floor of a lot of this technology. We just got a Faro scanner.
Nice.
We just got a new boat for our hydro surveys as well, which they've been doing for quite a bit actually. And then next year hopefully we get into the UAS game as well.
Very cool. And are you in a position where you get to play a part in those decision making? Yeah,
absolutely. Our city surveyor, he's come to me because he knows a little bit about my background and myself, and then some of the other techs. He said, hey, I know you guys. This is very interesting to you. So if you kind of want to head this up, any ideas you have, or like this GeoWeek, if you see conferences like this, let me know.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of grow this program from the ground up with you guys since you're so interested in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're in a great spot.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, they've been super great to me, I'll say.
Yeah. What do you like most about your job?
I'll say I like to call myself a lifelong learner. And so I think the ability that for them their willingness to teach me and for allowing me to continue school and kind of learn on the job while I'm working. So it's been super awesome. And, I just had another kid. She's 4 months old now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. I appreciate it. And, so they're super flexible with that as well. So I think their flexibility with me having a kid and then trying to, not necessarily having like any formal survey experience, before 2 years ago, and then coming in and then just saying, hey, you're going to learn from us and you're going to learn, the way that it should be learned. So it's been great.
So we got to figure out a way to clone Mario.
Really? Well, I mean, I think he's doing a good job of it on his own. We just have to wait about 20 years to pay that off. But
exactly.
But yeah, and talk about maybe just wrapping up here.
Sure.
What about like some of the challenges that you've seen along the way, and what do you see kind of as challenges for you maybe growing in the profession, and what are you excited about as far as your career goes?
Sure. So again, going back to learning, when I first started, a lot of the guys in our field crews, they're kind of on the end of their career, and so again, they've been super great with me, willing to teach me, which was honestly kind of surprising when I first started, because everything I heard was, hey, they're kind of old school, man. They're just be careful. But
right?
I mean, they were great. They worked with me, but at the end of the day, they're not professors or teachers, and so I think having kind of that drive and want to learn more about it was a challenge for me. So I started going on YouTube. That's how I kind of found you guys. I was just doing a bunch of research on surveying this, surveying that. That's how I found Rami's videos. He was doing everything from how to do corrections and level notes and everything. So for me, that was kind of the biggest challenge initially. So, but I think it's been great. Having you guys, having the people who are kind of being voices for the community.
Awesome. Appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, what he was saying is, you're a geospatial hero, Kent.
No, that's right, geospatial hero.
Come on.
I don't think you're going to get many in this room that would say differently.
No,
Just saying.
So nice.
So what else? What else you want to get out there? What else are you excited about?
Actually, if I don't mind, I ask you guys a question.
Okay, sure.
So where do you guys see the future of surveying going, as far as, I guess, one, the recruitment of either young surveyors or even people that are like, we just hired a retired fireman and he just wanted to get into surveying. So how do you see the future of recruitment for surveying going?
I think we probably need to get a little more creative in some ways. I mean, and you mentioned, Elaine Ball and get kids into survey. She's been doing that for a number of years now and doing a really good job with it. And Trent Keenan is now like the North America West franchise holder or whatever. So they're expanding that effort even more, which is super cool. And it's good. It's good. Hopefully, like we were talking about earlier, it's like, oh my God, if we get somebody on here that said, I had to get kids into survey coloring book and that's how I got into surveying, that's going to be like the best day ever. But we still have challenges, like you are like the chupacabra, honestly, at the age you're at and the willingness to learn. And we need a gazillion more people like you.
Well, I appreciate
it. And that's really hard to find.
Well, and I think, unfortunately, not to take away everything that Elaine's doing, I think it's going to get a little worse before it starts to get better. And luckily, there's some of the momentum that's already building. But I think that, like you're talking about, that age of surveyors is still going to continue to increase, and we're not going to see the benefit as a community of what we're doing now for several more years. 100%. And then I think at some point there's going to be a tipping point where everyone that really needs surveyors is going to start realizing, oh, wait, maybe everything these guys are saying is, then they'll see the impact of lack of quality professionals in the business. So it'll get a little worse, and then it'll be like, hey, why don't you guys do something and get more surveyors in? And then it'll be like, oh, well, we've been saying that for the last 5 years, and then it'll go for it.
And it takes people like you, Mario, to spread the word, talk about what a cool profession it is. It's not like one person's going to change, but it takes the entire profession to just do a better job promoting it, because it is an amazing profession.
Oh, I agree.
Just walk around this room. I mean, who wouldn't want to use some of this stuff?
Well, and then that's the technology is just going crazy right now, and it's going to continue to. But I think we're going to get to that. Hopefully, get that sweet spot where the kids are going to love playing with the toys, and the need for those toys is going to match the industry's demand, and that's where it's going to come together. And I still think we're several years away, but we're on the right path.
I agree. I think right now is a great time to get in with a lot of the new technology.
Definitely.
And that being said, I mean, even some of the traditional stuff. The other day I read a deed that was from 1690 something. It had the old English language. I was like, this is super cool. Just kind of the history.
Love the history part for sure. What else? I think that's about it. Anything else? Anything else you want to get out there, Mario?
Awesome. No, I appreciate you just having me on and
you bet.
Tell my story a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, absolutely. You guys do the same.
And now you can get a hat.
That's right. That's all worth it.
That's why I'm here.
Thanks a lot, Mario.
Thanks, Mario.
Appreciate it.
That's great. Okay, here we are.
We're back.
We just took the quickest half-mile walk in history.
Yeah, that went very well.
I got a sweat on my brow.
That was invigorating.
It was.
We were rocking and rolling
We're
here.
good, man. We are good to go. Excited to have this next guest with us. It is Kevin, and I'm going to let Kevin introduce himself. Just name who you're with and what you do.
Okay. Kevin Andrews. I am the business director for Trimble Aplanix Land Products.
Okay.
So that is the aided inertial navigation systems that Trimble sells into mobile mapping applications, specifically in land markets. So land vehicles, industrial vehicles, or rail applications, anything like that.
Interesting. And how did you get into this?
Kind of by accident. It goes way back to my undergrad. I went to University of Calgary and went to school to do an electronics engineering degree.
Canadian.
Got into it first couple of semesters and decided I absolutely hated electronics. I hated circuits. I hated electronics. And I found myself in my second semester completely scrambling for a new engineering field to follow. And at that time, I had never heard of geomatics, had no real interest in surveying, didn't know anything about it. But when I was looking for a new department, University of Calgary had this large geomatics program that I was previously unaware of. But the more I dug into it, the more awesome it sounded. It was everything about satellite navigation and digital mapping and terrain modeling and all of this cool technology that I was not really aware of previously. But once I started reading into it, I absolutely loved it. And so I got into geomatics. I finished the program. I specialized in inertial navigation. And when I was done, a small startup at the time, Aplanix, was out hiring, looking for new people to come in as field application engineers or just sort of knowledge experts. And I got hired by them out of my undergrad. 3 years later, Aplanix got acquired by Trimble, and I'm still with the company.
Good for you. That worked out well.
It is, yeah. So I've gone from a customer support rep to engineering project manager to product manager. I spent a few years in the autonomy sector of Trimble and strategic marketing, helping drive some of the strategy around autonomy, and now I'm in the business management of our inertial navigation systems.
Very cool. So I got to ask, when you were going to school in Calgary, did they offer curling 101?
No,
here we go.
But I grew up in a small town in Canada, and so curling was just something that they assumed you knew how to do.
Awesome.
Interesting.
What town?
Tersus, BC.
BC. Gotcha.
Yeah. I love curling because it's the only sport you can do at the Olympic level without putting your beer down.
See that, Sean? You should try it. I'm telling you.
I didn't know that you could do it without putting your beer down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you got that sense of balance, you could probably do it.
It requires some balance. You have to be born walking on ice.
I have to put my beer down when I cross.
I was not born walking on ice, so it sounds like I have an uphill climb.
Oh my gosh! So, like, talk about what you do a little more specifically. Is it
Sure.
is it constantly like product advancement and development? What is it?
It is, yes, it's product advancement. It's mostly about trying to keep track of the technologies that are constantly developing. And so, like I said before, I was in the autonomy strategy for a little bit, which has a huge amount of overlap with mapping right now. So there's a lot of technologies being developed for robotic perception, robotic localization, which has a huge amount of overlap in surveying and mapping. Things that were photogrammetric techniques 20 years ago are finding their way into computer vision and robotic vision. And LiDAR mapping and LiDAR processing is a huge thing as well. And so merging the localization inertial technology with LiDAR, it's a huge trend that we're following and we're very excited about.
So talk about the applications of that technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So many and varied for one, but specifically high definition mapping is huge right now, especially for automotive applications and automotive mapping. Obviously, all these autonomous cars that are on the road need high definition maps. So you got to collect the data. You got to collect the data with a system that is more accurate than the car itself. So that is a big market for us. But how do you collect data when GNSS doesn't work? It's got to work everywhere. It's got to work in parkades. It's got to work in tunnels and parking structures and underground roads and such. So we need to find ways to position ourselves accurately when we don't have GPS and we don't have the time to put crews of surveyors underground. So merging GNSS and inertial and SLAM, LiDAR SLAM is the sort of emerging technology that's super interesting right now for us.
That is really cool. Talk about like some use cases that come to mind.
Sure. We have a customer in China right now, Navinfo. Their biggest case is navigating autonomous vehicles in parking structures, like I said before. And so they have a 10-story parking structure, and they need to map it, and they need to make sure that each level is accurate and elevation-wise is accurate, and they need to do it quickly because they've got time to get in and get out, and that's really it. So you've got to be accurate, you've got to be precise, you've got to have all of the data in one go, and it's got to work the first time through.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I didn't think about
10-story parking garage.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, I was just thinking the other day.
You're probably fact checking it. They may not be 10 stories, but it's many stories.
Are we going to be buying like personal autonomous vehicles in the not too distant future? Do you think? Like Waymo, we live in Phoenix and we have Waymo there, and it's freaking amazing. And I'm like, God, if I could own a Waymo, that would solve so many problems.
5 years ago, I would have said yes, you would own one by now. But maybe in the next 5 years, who knows?
Okay, all right. Well, let's still hope. I'm telling you, my pipe dream is have it take me to work, make me money during the day, come back and pick me up, and just be at my beck and call. And then when I'm not using it, it pays for itself.
That's genius.
I mean, I'm not sure about what the payback period is. It's probably on the order of longer than my lifetime, but I'm sure that we'll work all that out.
Certainly the cost of building autonomous cars is a challenge right now. I mean, to build a Waymo car is way more than it costs you to build a regular car. So that's the burden that's got to be overcome somehow.
I mean, it's even significantly more than a fully electric.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's still going to be gaps that exist, and maybe Waymo has figured out how to get it from the road into the parking garage and out, but Kent's car is don't expect it to do that yet.
Don't expect it to drive you down to the beach for a barbecue. It is not going to off road for you.
That would be awesome. So what gets you up in the morning? What do you love about your job?
Technology. It's always been a love of technology, and what I love about mapping and geomatics is it's so many different technologies all coming from different directions and getting smashed together. So what attracted to me in an undergrad was it was satellites and it was lasers and it was all of this cool stuff, and it still is. And it's new technologies are coming out. Technology gets smaller, it's getting cheaper, it's getting into your phones, it's getting into your watches, it's getting into your cars. It's
crazy.
It's coming from everywhere, and the more different technologies you can put together, the better it works.
Sure.
So you hear people talk, LiDAR versus camera. And no, it's got to be both. It's got to be LiDAR and camera and sonic and radar. And the more of these you can get working together, the more of the corner cases you're going to solve. So it's always going to be an exciting intersection of all these different technology developments. Sure. That's what excites me.
And you think that your position at Trimble is kind of putting you at that intersection?
I think so. So, within the Planix division at Trimble, we believe that the IMU, the inertial sensors, are really at the heart, because IMUs are not impacted by anything in the outside world. They're just sitting there in the middle of your car. They're just measuring the forces. Everything else is kind of an aiding sensor. That's my perspective anyway. I'm very, very biased, by the way.
Oh, sure.
We think that inertial technology is a critical component to it, absolutely, and it's part of the puzzle. And there's a lot of different ways to solve that puzzle, and it's the variety that keeps me going.
So I've always wondered. We talk a lot to folks at Trimble, and always sounds like a great company, great culture. But I've got to be curious. Like, isn't there like little silos of groups that all think that their part is the most critical and it couldn't be done without them?
That's a great question. I love that question.
Yes. So, absolutely. Trimble is a long history company. There's a lot of startups and a lot of different technology development groups. We all think we're the most important, but that's the best part is we're all very passionate about our technologies, and when we can find a way to make these technologies work in a way that convinces others of the importance of the mix, then that's when the magic happens.
Yeah. How does successful collaboration happen?
Painfully, usually. Like you said, everybody thinks they've got the most important part, but the reality is the collaboration has to happen, and we're finding ways to make it happen. And it's shows like this where you've got a booth and you've got people from 3 different locations all in the same booth asking and answering the same questions. It starts to bring these groups a little bit together. So
and you're bringing some of the smartest and of all the people in the world that specialize in this type of work and this type of technology. They all kind of exist in the same space.
Are we part of that group you're describing?
I was trying to insert us into that, like maybe as a side piece.
Subgroup.
Yes. So what else are you excited about?
What else am I excited about? I don't know. The variety of customers that we've got, I think, is another one. I've been with Trimble for 24 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I have supported our aerial customers. Nice. We got into digital aerial cameras when it was new, and I saw a million different applications of that. Rail customers, road vehicle customers, small robots, the Watson Dynamics dog. We've been involved in so many different applications.
Is the dog here this week?
I saw one.
There's one. Trimble doesn't have the dog, but it's just that variety of application as well is the other thing that sort of keeps me going and keeps it interesting, because you don't know what's going to come next.
Oh, sure.
Some guy's going to come along and want to survey, I don't know, air ducts or something like that.
That's what I was going to say. What do you think? Because I remember when the dog first came out, it's like, oh my God, unbelievable, Mm-hmm. What's next? Like, what do you see coming down the pipeline when it comes to putting sensors on things? And
we're going to put sensors on everything.
Yeah, I guess it's you could.
5 years ago or so, there was talk of everybody's phones would be the mapping sensor of the future, right? Yeah. And every time you had your phone out, it would just be observing the world around you. An application of taxi cabs. Why don't we just make taxi cabs mapping cars, and then they'll cover all of the ground? Yeah. Or who knows? It's coming everywhere, and it's exciting. Another big application is drone delivery, right? That Amazon package to your front door might be coming by air. Who knows? There's lots of problems there to solve, but
airspace, that
makes it interesting. Yeah.
Interesting is for sure.
But I still think you can get last mile stuff. It's not the
what is last mile? What is that?
That's not to your doorstep.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
That's the idea regional... is that the big they take it to the distribution center, and then there's a smaller one, and then that last mile is the one that gets it from the one spot. And I think there's something that could be there. I mean, obviously they're not going to drone fly my socks from Taiwan, but they're going to get it from the distribution place down the street.
Yeah. Well, you got Amazon thinking about it, right? I mean, they're building smaller and smaller distribution centers, taking over retail space, big box retail space. That they're taking over distribution centers
strategically
just to get closer,
to make that last mile shorter.
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, just sort of excited to be here and see some of these new technologies and just watch these things smash together. We're going to keep an eye on it.
It's an exciting time for sure.
It really is.
Well, thank you for your time, Ken. I really appreciate
Thanks a lot,
it.
Kevin. Appreciate you stopping by.
Glad to be here.
It's time to load up on the rocket fuel. It kicks in fast, be sure to keep it cool.
So I feel like you're petering out on me a little bit. Are you okay,
Why is
buddy?
that? Oh, I'm doing good.
Is the energy level, is it still up where it was?
A little low, but we're getting it back.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm getting the motivation
Second
again.
wind.
Yeah, a little second wind action.
Like it's second wind now, and then you have to get the third wind later.
Yeah, that's
the
later's
fourth
problem.
wind before we go to the Regal party, and it's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. We got an old friend with us and a new friend. I'm going to let them introduce themselves really quick. Just really quick, name, who you're with, and kind of what you do. Go ahead, Gavin.
I'm Gavin Schrock. I'm a licensed surveyor and like a satellite positioning nerd for more decades than I want to admit. I predate GPS, actually. I part-time I write for Geospatial publications. So
Yeah, I see your name all over the place.
Oh.
Yeah, well respected.
Oh, thank
We appreciate you taking the time to join us. And
And
Jesse.
I'm Jesse. I'm Jesse Huff. I'm a professional surveyor, I guess, by background, but I'm also
Cool.
a huge technology nerd.
Okay.
I recently joined Tersus GNSS as general manager, and we launched here in the U.S. a few months ago. And
Cool.
It's creating a new ecosystem and giving people options in the hardware space.
And I am excited to hear about Tersus for sure, but I want to know how you guys know each other.
Yeah.
We've been in the same technology space forever.
For a long time.
Yeah, you were support, sales. I was end user. We collaborated on lots of stuff over the years. And, we geek, therefore we am.
That's right. That's right. Or we am, therefore we geek.
There you go.
Depending on which way
yes.
you look at that.
Yeah. So tell us about the background of Tersus, how this all started.
Well, there's an exercise in geekdom. I research for articles and also for my day use. You know? And so when the 4 constellations were finally going to mature, be finished, the Galileo, the Beidou, and the upgrade of the GPS, I wanted to research. I wanted to get test equipment. I need a baseline receiver that could get all 21 signals. Now, remember, a lot of us started with one L1 signal.
That's right. Yep.
Then L2.
Remember that.
Right?
Yep.
And then it was L2 forever. And then,
L2 was
Galileo.
a big deal, though. That was a
huge deal.
Yeah. GLONASS came along, and GLONASS totally sucked. But then it got better, and then it kind of flattened. But then when they were we end up with, amongst those constellations, 21 separate usable signals that can be mixed and matched and blow up processors and just change the way we do stuff. For the baseline receiver, I'm in Intergeo. You guys, Intergeo, the giant, it's a bucket list item for surveyors. In Germany, it's like huge exhibit halls full of total survey geekness.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to different manufacturers.
International survey geekness.
Yes.
International, almost intergalactic. But anyhow, I went to different manufacturers, and I'm looking for my baseline equipment and stuff. And I ran across an outfit that were just beginning to build their own boards. For a long time, 3/4 of all rovers on the planet had boards in them from only 2 manufacturers. That's the OEM market. But lately, there's a lot of GNSS engineering students and physicists. They're writing their own boards. The way boards are written, I could go on for hours. I won't. So I ran across an outfit, this Tersus, right, and got along well with them. And their engineers were very open to telling me what they were doing. They were building their own board. And when they did, I tested one of their small units, the David. It's a component unit. And I just went, mind blown. Okay, this is my baseline unit. Then I got the rover version.
Got it.
And I thought, but they don't sell in the U.S. They're big all over the world. Well, the U.S. is a different thing. And one of these days they are. And then I heard an old buddy of mine is going to launch the brand in the U.S.
Yeah.
So this is Jesse. And, how'd you get here, too?
Yeah.
Oh, it was interesting, actually. I've been a part of the geospatial community longer than I care to admit. You wouldn't know it by looking at me. No, sorry, I got that backwards. It's not as long looking at me. It's just So, I mean, I've been a part of things for, almost 30 years. And I started out as a surveyor in the field, and we had one of the first geotometer robots. And I loved the technology, so I started using the tech before they wrote tech manuals for things, and took it apart and wrote my own firmware for things. And I was like, no, I don't like the way all of that's working. So over the years, I've been with other companies in and out of the survey profession. I lived in Australia for years. I worked for a survey distribution down there for a company that we won't name that has a booth at the front of the exhibition hall here. But over the years, just really got into the technological side of things, and my career path took me to be, market manager for geotechnical and deformation monitoring, and I was vice president for another GNSS firm before Tersus. Really, I got a phone call from the CEO of Tersus that said, "Hey, we want to launch in the U.S." Sat down and had a conversation with my wife and said, "How fun would it be to build something, to bring something global and bring it back to the States and have that there?" So I joined with them shortly after Halloween.
Oh wow!
And it's been a fun ride. And in talking with them and talking with the CEO and things, he said, "Oh, I know this guy named Gavin."
Oh, jeez.
I was like, "Do you?" I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that guy.
Do I want to admit this?
Right? Yes. I already have the job, right?
Yeah. I was like, "Wait, can we sign first?" No, but it was great, and having the mutual connection. And once I joined and talking with Gav about the technology and the way that we're doing things with RTK algorithms, with the way the hardware is manufactured, we got to geek out on all of that all over again. I got a text message from Gavin after I made the LinkedIn announcement. He was like, "Wow, look at that." Yeah. So it's
super cool. So tell us more about the hardware. I mean, what separates it? I mean, you walk around here and there's a gazillion of these receivers, right?
There are.
Yeah.
And to Gavin's point, though, one of the things I think that goes unknown especially in the geospatial community, and I don't want to lump surveyors in with that, but let's call them surveyors because that's what they are. So many people are using the same boards from other things, just like the first GNSS units use boards from two manufacturers. You go through all of your brands and you may have the same board that exists in various GNSS receivers. There's only a handful of companies that are really making their own hardware, and with that comes different algorithms and the way you process things and all of that. So with Tersus, we took a novel approach by developing our own and doing that, but our algorithms and things, we have a extreme RTK, and that's where the real smarts of the hardware comes into things. Your algorithms have to take advantage of the electronics to be able to do that. You can have the most sensitive electronics in the world, but if you're using a DOS operating system over top of them, then you're not getting the benefits of everything there.
Sure.
And one of the things I loved about Tersus was the entire ecosystem that's there, and it gives professionals like myself other options, and we like to play nice with everybody. We can integrate with just about any other system. Sure. And to have other options and help, for me, that helps the profession at large.
Definitely.
Well, there's the Ocker connection. So Jesse worked in Western Australia as a surveyor and sold equipment, and I grew up there and did my first surveying while I was in high school in West Australia. So we had this connection, but it turns out the CEO of Tersus is in Melbourne.
Yep.
And we call him X. That's his hipster nickname. Winston, we call him X. And it turned out he and I actually got to be good friends in our geekage conversations. The guy really has a vision. Before he did Tersus, he was in charge of the rollout of a almost nationwide 4G system in Asia.
Oh, wow.
And then there were investors going, "What are you going to do next?" And he was like, "I'm fascinated by positioning." And he really is. The guy's the bigger nerd than we are about that.
And he still gets in, even as the CEO, and plays with the technology and with the toys. Let's call them toys because I'm a giant child. But he still gets in and plays with it. And that was the thing when he had the vision, because I asked him the same thing, "What's your vision?" And he said, "Jesse, I want to be one of the big three." And I was like, "That's it. I'm sold. You've got vision, you've got passion, you've got drive.
Yep.
Hell yeah, let's do it."
That's the BHAG. Are you familiar with that?
Big, hairy, audacious goals.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like it.
Well, they're they've actually got pretty strong Australian roots there. They're starting production of steer control systems for ag and stuff in Australia with an Aussie brand. And
that's right.
There may be a U.S. branding with some adjustments for our market. We never know, but. There is they do have a group in Shanghai, an engineering group. More and more we're seeing the Australian side of it. Well, their CEO is there. But again, I got to visit their engineering group, and Cheaton, especially the engineer. You know, I've been writing about GPS for decades, right? Yeah. And manufacturers don't want to tell you what's under the hood. No, they were quite open because they're freaking proud of it. And I think we'll see
for
that.
good reason.
We'll see more of that.
Yeah, that makes a difference for sure. So what's going to happen? Maybe this is unrelated, but I don't think it is. You know, we're getting ready to roll out here in North America the new state plane coordinate adjustment at some point. I mean, it was 2022. Now it might be this year.
2025.
2025. How does that affect your development in any way, shape, or form? It doesn't. Okay.
It doesn't. I mean, we've got datum shifts going on. We're taking what NEVD 88, we're going back to closer to what NGVD 29 was. We're just dropping the 72 adjustment. Like, all of that's always in flux, right? Mm-hmm. That's all that is math. In terms of the development and algorithms and everything, that's just the byproduct of what goes on. Just like, you know, the GPS board and any receiver can work in Europe, can work in the U.S. The coordinate system export is...
It's in the data collector.
It's in the data collector.
Yeah, and right. So it's just the definitions. You know, the NGS will have the definitions, the projections, and then you'll just import them. Like in the NUA software, which I like because it's free and I can run it on my damn phone.
And it works.
I can just import any, like I was traveling to Europe and I went, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go grab that projection for when I'm over there to play around. So it's the same actually across the industry. It's those definitions are imported. It's done in your data collector. No major changes.
Yeah.
There's the survey question that arises from the state plane shift, though, especially with the U.S. survey foot going away. Like, how's that going to impact the whole cadastre and everything else that's going on? I got friends that work out east and friends that are in, you know, the public land system too, and everybody's like,
right,
man, what happens when my foot goes away?
Does artificial intelligence play a role?
Yes and no. So AI is a term that's thrown around an awful lot. Interpolation of things, sure. As we develop more into the point cloud side of things and point cloud processing, it will. For what we're doing now, I hate to use the word stock standard, but it's fairly stock standard, robust GNSS solutions. The integrations that we're doing with other manufacturers, you know, AI and algorithms play a part in that. But I think industry-wide, we're going to see a big push towards AI here in the next 2 years.
Well, there's been a big shift in the past 2 years. You mentioned point cloud classification. Now, they've had AI and point cloud classification for a long time, 10, 15 years.
Yep.
It just didn't call it that because it wasn't hipster, you know. Well, actually, it changed. When they went to the neural networks version of it, that with the amount of data people are capturing now, they could never have done it with the tools from 10 years ago.
Right.
It couldn't handle that capacity. Yeah. That's the change. In GNSS, what it's doing, it doesn't necessarily need it right now. And actually, there's a lot to be said for being a little more linear. But it can, especially if we get into quantum sensing and quantum antennas.
Which changes the whole gamescape of everything.
You're going to have to have AI in that model.
You will. I think so much of it right now has been deliverable driven, especially with point cloud collection. It's great, you know, Surveyor can go out and collect 10 million points a second, and you have terabytes worth of data, and his deliverable goes to a civil engineer who's designing a storm drain, and he's like, can I get a top of bank and a brake line, please?
Yeah.
You know, so I think as we're able to manipulate larger data sets and have that data that comes through, it's going to play a large role.
Yeah, for sure. What else? What are you guys excited about? Who wants to go first?
Obviously, other than, you know, launching a whole new.
There's so many things to be excited about. It's drinking from a fire hose at the same time. You know, it's wearing the hat of marketing and sales and, you know, distribution management and doing all of those things. Like, there's a lot for me. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm excited to help build a brand, to help build a global brand.
That is exciting.
And go through.
Is that where you're at in this process? Is brand recognition and brand building?
Absolutely. Every market that we've gone into, we've become one of the top three. We're one of the top three in South Africa. We're having huge successes in Europe, Southeast Asia. We're rebranding stuff from the Australian perspective as well. So I'm excited to carry that on here. I don't know that my wife and my family are as excited as I am from the amount of time that I'm putting into it. So I may need to look at my divorce management plan. But it's still been a lot of fun.
That's great. So one thing I failed to ask you, what about price point? How does that compare?
So it's a price point that everybody can afford, and that's one of the things that I feel like the community as a whole really wants options.
Yeah.
And you can go super low cost, but there's the old adage: you also get what you pay for.
Sure.
So from a price point, and I have no issue sharing. We're still in the 4 digits for a complete rover system.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's
That's amazing.
I can't endorse anything because I actually use a wide variety of stuff because there's certain strengths in lots of things. I can attest to the technical capabilities, especially for me as a baseline unit. When I want to completely use, I'll give you an example. You got a rover out there. You can see 45 satellites, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forget the S-Pass of the 4 concepts.
Right.
You have perfectly clear sky. How many are you going to use in the actual RTK solution running at 10 hertz, Okay, so some of the older rovers or the lower cost ones, I might see 40, I might be using 20, I might be using 23. When you start getting up to, I see 40, I'm using 36, I'm using 38, that actually can make a lot of difference. So I won't go any further, but I just say, that's the kind of range we're talking about. Yeah.
Which is why I like the look under the hood also. There's a lot of things, and it's a great marketing tool to say, hey, look, we're tracking 48 satellites. That's great. You're tracking them, but you're not necessarily using them.
Utilizing them, in the solution. All right. Well, hey, thank you, guys. You've been awesome. Thank you, Gavin, for introducing us to
you guys
Jesse.
stopping by.
Absolutely.
Good
Thanks,
seeing
fellas.
you again.
Right on. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys.